All right, Tampa Bay Bucks. Trevor going with an A for his Bucks. If we go back to the starting point here, Baker Mayfield was unsigned. Mike Evans was unsigned. They bring both of those guys back. They bring back Levante David, and they just paid Antoine Winfield Jr., franchised him first, but then just paid him a record deal at safety. Out the door, though, Shaq Barrett at edge, Devin White at linebacker, and then traded Carlton Davis. And then I thought the draft for the Bucks, first 5 draft picks all look like instant contributors. So, yeah, for a team that on paper had a lot of question marks, right? You might have assumed that Baker Mayfield was going to be back and assumed that Mike Evans was going to be back, but they took care of that. And then you can see the draft up on the screen there. Graham Barton can step right in at center. Chris Braswell at edge. Tyke Smith, safety out of Georgia. They have roles to play as rookies. Jalen McMillan can be wide receiver 3 or at least compete there right away. And Bucky Irving as a change of pace running back. I think there's a lot to like about this Bucks offseason.
Yeah, I mean, as Trevor put it in the article, they kept who they wanted to keep. I think that's an achievement. You know, they had Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Levante David, and Antoine Winfield Jr. got his big payday and was kept around. Those are 4 keystone players for this team. And even if Levante David is reaching the end of his career, I mean, he's still a really important part of that team. So keeping those guys around, if they wanted to keep all 4 of those guys, if that was all they did, it was an achievement. Shaq Barrett, you know, has some injuries and hasn't been the player that he used to be. Devin White just has never been the player that he was supposed to be. And then trading away Carlton Davis, I mean, Carlton Davis has been a pretty solid player for them, but trading him away obviously suggests they were perfectly fine with losing him. So, you know, I think they did a good job of keeping the important players on that roster that they could have lost a lot of. And certainly if they managed to lose, you know, Baker Mayfield, who knows what they would have done at quarterback. That's good business. And then you end up with the draft, which has been, you know, a pretty solid draft.
Yeah, so I mean, given their starting point, as I said, I think the Bucks did a good job. The question's going to be, okay, did they just to make all these moves? Is that just to once again compete in the NFC South? They won the division last year, but it wasn't like it was a cakewalk. I mean, they started out like 2-7, whatever it was, finished out strong. Does Baker Mayfield's big season last year coincide with Dave Canales? Was it that, or was it the fact that he did have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin to throw to, and they found that good chemistry? So they still have plenty of question marks there, and the question mark of, you know, they finished in the final 8 of teams last year. Because they won their one playoff. They won a playoff game, go to the divisional round. Is there going to be this get over the hump next question with Baker Mayfield and what they have there? But look, keeping a pretty good nucleus around. Still have some questions about how well they're going to rush the passer with Barrett out and some of the guys that they have there. But and cornerback too, right? With Carlton Davis out, it was Davis and Jamel Dean for a few years there as a very good 1-2 tandem there. I got some questions about replacing Carlton Davis there because they never really answered that in the draft or free agency.
I mean, I think A is a stretch in terms of grade for their offseason, but I think this was solid given the potential losses that they could have incurred. But because they focused so much on bringing all those guys back, it's like, well, we didn't make that many additions that they're going to move the needle. I mean, obviously the draft is how you want to do that generally anyway, but you know, you do still have this gaping hole at potentially one cornerback spot opposite Jamel Dean. You know, you have some real weaknesses on this roster still. They didn't necessarily propel themselves forward as much as just maintain still being able to probably contend in a weak division.